rolling, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Yeah, much of a flag.
All right. I'll call the March 8th meeting of the West Dakota Water Development District meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. So please stand. Now we have a little flag there, so here we go. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a roll call. Dan?
Okay. March 8th. Roll call. Coth.
Here.
Bjerke.
Here.
Driscoll.
Here.
McGregor.
Here.
Nautigal.
Here.
Cheryl Rowe.
Here.
Mack.
Here.
Fleming.
Here.
Harris.
Here.
All present. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda for today.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve. Is there a second to the motion? Seconded by Dennis. Any discussion? Any additions? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Pull the same sign. Motion carried. Next item is the approval of the minutes from the January meeting. Do you have any comments on that, Linda?
Nope, I would just ask for a motion.
Okay. Is there a motion? Motion by Ron. Is there a second to the motion? Seconded by Cheryl. Discussion on the motion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Pull the same sign. Motion carried. Next item is conflict of interest disclosure. Are there any items on the agenda today that any of the board members would have a conflict of interest on? Seeing none, we'll move on to the Treasurer's Report.
The projected tax revenue for this year will be $230,877. Funds on hand are $551,951. The non-project expenditures have been $10,668. There's a little more expense because of the checks I wrote today. And the project expenditures to date are $9,980, and that's all from the terrace site project. So that gives us the total expenditures, $20,648. And if there are no questions, I'll move on. This is our asset summary. We have two CDs, which I want to bring up again maybe. There's a 24-month that's coming due April 17th, and a 12-month coming due May 28th. Both of those are about $200,000. Then in the high interest savings account, we have $133,686, and then in the other savings account, $10,719, and then checking $4,802.
So
those are all in the same thing.
The CD that's due in May, we'll have to act on that.
Yeah, so we need to talk about interest rates are probably going to be going up. Right now, they have not changed much from what these are now. If we don't do anything, it'll automatically roll over. But we have a meeting before that.
Yes, we do. So we can wait till then. Yeah.
There's a poltergeist, some ghost game. And for the projects, this first line here is that's actually an error. That should be zero there under current paid amount. Not sure what happened there for the USGS stream gauges. The rest of those are last year's projects. And our total project liabilities, if you add up that right-hand column, is $184,198. And these are the details on those CDs. The 12-month is at 0.2%, the 24-month is at 0.55, and the interest rates are actually lower than that right now. I called the bank yesterday. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
All right. Any questions for Dan on the Treasurer's Report?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Scott.
Dan, what was our 2021 tax revenue?
I think it was about 219,000. Sounds like Wendy's phone is still on.
No, I'm on mute.
Oh, we
Gee.
just heard you.
No, we hear you.
Now we hear you loud and clear.
Because I just took myself on mute.
Oh,
Okay,
sorry.
very good.
Okay.
Excellent. Is there a motion to approve the Treasurer's Report?
Move to approve.
All right, approved. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Scott. Motion made by Tom. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
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 Pose same sign. Motion carried. Thank you, Dan.
Who did the second on that?
Scott.
Scott?
Oh. Who made the motion?
I did.
Yeah, Tom did. Okay. The next item, number 7, is consider funding request from Pennington County Conservation District for a cost share of $50,000 in their conservation initiative strategy project along Rapid Creek. And this will be the second vote on that. We voted for that during our January meeting. And so, Dan, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, I'll keep it pretty short since we went over all of this in January. Passed it with the first vote on page 12 in your packet. Starting on page 12 is an agreement that, well, that's not the agreement, that's the actual proposal that we had considered previously. And then starting on page 14 is a joint powers agreement that Director Bierke and I had worked with Lindsay Mader, who's here today from the Conservation District. They've got a kind of a standard form that they oftentimes use for things like this, and we worked with her to adapt it to our purposes, and it had Dan Mullally review it also. Everybody seems to agree the format is workable for us. One thing to point out is that on page 17, there are 3 stipulations listed there that we brought up at our last meeting, and just agreed that we would weave them into the agreement in some fashion. And everybody's had a chance to review this ahead of time, so I won't bother to read them or anything like that. I'll just go straight to making a motion. I provided a motion to Dan ahead of time. If you want to bring that up on the
It's right here.
screen. Okay, he's got it highlighted there.
Do you want to read that motion?
Motion by Driscoll to fund the Pennington Conservation District for a cost sharing of $50,000 over a 3-year time frame as a partner in their conservation initiative strategy project along Rapid Creek.
Okay, did you hear that, Wendy?
I did. Yep,
Okay.
I'm listening.
Okay. Was there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Tom. All right, open for discussion. No discussion? All right. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
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 Pose same sign. Motion carried.
And we can still have lawyers review this too, if you would like to do that. I think that'd be a good idea.
Okay. Scott, did you have a chance to look at that?
No, I've been otherwise
I
active.
know you're, yeah, I understand.
I had hoped to, but I'm just starting to get back into it now, so. I will take it.
Personally, I'm not familiar with joint powers agreement, so I was,
I'm familiar with them, so
Yeah, I figured-
I will take a look at it.
okay. If there's something that's,
Once he looks at it, just let me know and we can
okay,
make changes.
sounds good. Thanks for coming.
Yep, thank you.
All right, moving on to item number 8, consider funding for $44,000 to the Department of Ag and Natural Resources Rotating Basins Project, Rotation 2, which is the Belle Fourche and Upper Cheyenne River Basins. And Linda Harris, I'll let you take it from here.
Okay. Well, the project proposal is in your packet, so I hope everybody's had a little bit of time to review that. Jesse Wilkins from the Department of Ag and Natural Resources is here today, along with his coworker Jordan, and I forgot Jordan's last name. Anyways, they will give a presentation on their proposal. But I guess to start it off, I will make a motion, and I'm going to amend it just a little bit from what's on the agenda. And I think Dan has it up there. We will just vote on funding the project for $22,000, which would cover the first year. So there will still be a second vote on it, but this gives us and them the opportunity to start their monitoring the first part of May before we meet again. And this way, we know that the finances are covered, assuming that we approve this project.
So would you make that motion?
So I will make
Should I
the
put May-
motion.
Should I put May in here? Starting in May, or does it matter?
Not needed.
I'm sorry?
I don't think it's needed.
Okay.
Unless you want to
Simple.
put year 2022, but, or rather than year 1.
Okay,
Okay, motion by Harris to fund the DANR Rotating Basins Project for $22,000 to cover the costs for year 2020 for 2022 of the program.
okay, so is there a second to that motion?
Sure, I'll second.
Seconded by Dan. Okay, now it's open for discussion. And were you going to give a presentation on that?
Sure.
Let's do that first then.
Where would you like me? Up there? Right
You come up here so you're next to a microphone so we can get you on the record.
up here?
Wherever you're comfortable. As long as you speak in the microphone. Oh, okay.
Right. My name is Jesse Wilkins. Like was mentioned, I work with SDDANR. I'm in the Watershed Protection Program. And I'm talking about the Black Hills Rotating Basin. Did you do the slides?
Can you hear him, Wendy?
Yep, I can hear him just fine.
Okay.
Okay. So I think that you guys have had other people from our staff in to talk about rotating basin, but I'll just go over it real quick. It's a program that we designed to get more water quality data to supplement our existing programs. And we broke the state up into 5 basins. They're color-coded on the map. We spend 2 years in each basin. So a whole cycle of the whole state would take 10 years because there's 5 basins. And when we're in a basin, we sample as many water bodies as we possibly can there, particularly the ones that we look to assess, the major ones. The goal here is to just produce way more data for assessing these water bodies under the Clean Water Act. We started out in Rotation 1 in the Big Sioux Basin. I've spent the last several years there. Now Rotation 2 moves over to the Black Hills. The next slide, please. When we talk about assessments under the Clean Water Act, these assessments are put out every 2 years in a document called the Integrated Report for Surface Water Quality. We've got a new version coming out here in April.
Jesse,
Yep. Yep.
right here.
Jay's got it. In the integrated report, it contains the 303D assessments. They call it the integrated report because it also has the 305D assessments, different thing. There's a link there. All the integrated reports are available online. 303D assessments are required under the Clean Water Act. And this is where we assess if a water body is meeting its water quality standards and supporting its beneficial uses. We have to set minimum data requirements to ensure that we have a sufficient data set to make a valid judgment on a water body of whether it's meeting its standards. So the minimum for streams is 20 samples over the last 5 years. The minimum for lakes is to sample that lake 2 out of the last 10 years. And in each of those 2 years that you sample it, you have to sample it twice that year. So that's the bare minimum. We're hoping to do better than that, but if nothing else, we want to meet that because on a lot of water bodies across the state, we're not meeting those minimum data requirements yet. Next slide, please. For stream sampling, we're looking at 66 stream sites. That's throughout the Black Hills and the prairie right around the hills. I got a map on the next slide. The parameters that we're looking at are listed up there. E. coli and total suspended solids are always the main ones that we're looking at because that's what we have the most impairments for, the water bodies that are meeting their standards. But we'll collect data for all those things. And then we have another subset of 15 streams that have issues with salinity, high salt content. And those are our irrigation waters. So we're going to, on those 15 streams, we're going to sample sodium absorption ratio and salinity as well. Next slide, please. So here's a map of our...
Jesse, she's got a
I have
question.
a question.
Sure.
Do you check for heavy metals?
We don't as part of this, no. We're not really looking at that. We're kind of looking for more non-point source type pollution. So just those parameters on the last slide is what we're doing. Yes, Chip?
Most of the sites, assuming, are WQ sites?
No. A lot of them aren't. A lot of them are classified streams that don't have a consistent monitoring station.
Okay.
So that...
You say as an answer to that question, where your sites are also WQM sites, those in the northern hills are sampled for heavy metals.
Yeah. The surface...
You said WKM?
QM, water quality monitoring.
Oh, water quality.
Yeah.
And I guess what I can add is that there are streams that are currently getting samples for heavy metals, primarily like Spearfish Creek, Whitewood Creek, in the northern hills where it's more of a concern and more likely. And that is done routinely.
Yeah. And so we're going to sample those sites as well. We're not going to sample them for the heavy metals, but we're going to supplement the data that the WQM network is collecting. And then a lot of the smaller streams, like down around Wind Cave, Custer State Park area, those don't really get sampled at all unless somebody in our department or program makes some effort and finds the funds to go sampling. So and sometimes we get data in from federal agencies, so we have some data. We have to assess it under the Clean Water Act, but we don't have enough. The green markers are the stations or sites within the West Dakota district boundary, and the red markers are outside the boundary. We plan to sample these sites monthly, so we'll start in May, we'll go till September, so it'll be 5 samples per year over 2 years. The total numbers of the samples, at least for me, are fairly eye-popping. 792 total samples, 132 of those being quality assurance, quality control samples to ensure that we're doing a good job and not contaminating the samples. We do blank samples that are just distilled or deionized water, so we send that in. Lab's not supposed to detect anything if we're doing our job right. And then also replicate samples where we just collect 2 identical samples and they should be about the same thing.
About how many sampling sites are within our West Dakota district, do you know?
Yes, there's 17.
17?
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Out of how many total?
66 total. Yep.
I know.
49 outside.
There's 66 that are in the whole Black Hills, and 17 of those are within...
Oh, I thought he said 72.
17.
Okay.
17, yeah.
Okay.
Or 17 within our district. Okay. Thank you.
Next slide, please. For the lakes, that's a typo. It's actually 26 lakes. Right up till the very end, we were trying to make a decision on which lakes to sample and which not. And we just did some bad math and ended up with 27. In your work plan, it says 27 lakes, but the budget is for 26. We can send you an updated work plan if you'd like with the correct number. I think that's the only mistake that we have in there. The parameters that we're sampling for are very similar to the stream, except we're looking at chlorophyll. Did I forget to put that on there? I sure did. So we would add chlorophyll in as well to look at how green the lakes are getting due to algae blooms, things like that. And then we'll also collect microcystin, which is a toxin produced by blue-green algae that can be harmful to humans, pets, livestock, and wildlife. Those we're going to do on a kind of case-by-case basis. If we show up to a lake and it's green and we see significant algae, we'll collect a sample. I think that we budgeted in 10 of those. We don't see a lot of that out here, not so much as East River, so we didn't budget a lot in for that. But we do have the flexibility to collect that if we see something that's concerning. Next slide, please. Of these 26 lakes, 6 are within the West Dakota district boundary, 20 are outside the boundary. We'll sample each lake 3 times per year between